Welcome to the Be a Human in Business show with your hosts, Tracy Borison, founder and personal branding coach at TLB Coaching and Events, Tara Argo, founder and relationship strategist at Argo Operations, Tawana Taylor, founder and project management consultant at Bootstrap Dreams, Debbie Aquara, founder and principal consultant at Niche Customer Experience Consulting Firm. Let's start the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Be a Human in Business show. We are so excited to have a very special guest with us today. Josephine Tite is going to join us for a marvelous conversation on how to be a human in business beyond the business of caring. So before we jump into our topic for today, I know we all want to send our little hearts out to our Miss Debbie, who is not here with us today. Debbie, we love you. Kisses for all of the crazy projects that you're up to all at the same time. And we will see you again soon on a future episode. All right, Josephine, would you like to start us off today by just sharing a little bit about you and what being a human in business means to you?
Oh, heck. Is that a big question? Well, my super passion, I guess, is there's two things I can't ever shut up about talking about. One is positive psychology and the other is Italy. So both of those describe me as a human and as a human in business, because I do have an Italian heritage and I love, love, love the food, the culture, the smells, the language. I don't know if you've ever been talked to in Italian or any other romantic language like that, but it just feels so great. And, and then I love the field of positive psychology, got a diploma in that space in 2016. And I've just been so passionate about leveraging the science of that field to help fuel people's well-being in organizational settings and the people that work in those organizations. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So today we're going to talk about caring, because the overarching principle of caring can actually be quite broad. And the concept of caring, I think, is quite often included in the concept of being a human, or at least we on this show would like to hope so. But there are different levels of caring that are needed for different people at different times. So Josephine, I would love to start off with you, because you're our special guest today, on giving us some examples of when do we need different levels of caring?
Well, I guess if you start to think about caring in terms of the person and the person, so not just a person needs something to survive, like they need to be fed or they need to be cleaned up, those types of things, or they need wounds to be healed, or a certain medical protocol to be, procedures to be performed. But when they need something a little deeper than that, that's when a different, I guess you will, level or a different definition of caring comes into play, because then we're not just doing a task, but we're actually with a person. And if you're with a person, you can tell if you are full of compassion and empathy, which most of us innately have. And if we don't, it's a skill we can build. And that's another conversation for another time. But then you notice what else they might be needing relationally, like emotionally, spiritually, socially. What are some of the things that they might need? And how can you in your relationship, meet them where they are to give them what they need for the other things in life?
Well, and I know, and I'd love Tawana and Tara jump in at any time too, but I know for me, from a personal branding perspective, this is huge, because different people need different amounts of caring. Like some people need a lot of social caring and some people need more physical caring, right? And it's based on who that person is as an individual and what they are experiencing at that point in their life. So I know, like, anybody who's listening today, all of our panelists on today, like, you can think of those examples where you're like, well, like, I really just needed something to eat. Just like, that was my most important need at the time. And for me, what I experience a lot in the personal branding arena is this need for space to be yourself and to have your you-ness appreciated by other people. And these are the types of caring that I think are sometimes overlooked to those Like now I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like we have our like basic level of needs and we're all like, okay, everybody has the basic level. We're good, right? Like, but are we good? And really that is like, no, those basic levels of needs, maybe in the olden days when we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers and things like that, that most of our energy went to that. But now in our environment of comfort, and there are these deeper needs that need to be met for people.
And culturally, it's different as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, meaning and purpose and happiness can look and feel different in different places of the world, right? So that also impacts how we even approach viewing those needs, those higher needs, we might call them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're self-realizing or living a life full of meaning and purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that impacts it too.
And Tawana, I would love to hear, because before we started recording, you were sharing about like, even in business, there are some things, there's like tactical, strategical things that like, yes, they're kind of like the bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs in business, but then there are still those other levels of need, those human needs that people have in order to be able to execute at those levels. So I'd love to hear from your perspective a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting here absorbing all this in. My little light bulbs are going off all over my head because I'm like, what do I speak to now? It's all so good. So as you're talking about, Tracy, even as coming up with like the title of this episode, right? It's like, okay, in business, we care. We do care. And like Josephine, stated, there are different types of needs, and based on culturally and based on personality and all that stuff. And I know, in the world of business, we are so hard set sometimes on trying to separate, right? Professional and personal. But I have found that they're not all that isolated. And granted, the larger the business and all that stuff, then yes, there's a time and place for certain things. Regardless, though, we're not doing business with the entity. We're doing business with the people who are representing, right? That product, that company, that solution, that service, or whatever it is that they're offering. And so when I think about beyond the business of caring, and I think about operations, like I'm very strategically driven. I'm very organized, even if it's chaos. I'm very what's on the list and what needs to be accomplished. At the same time, I'm always in this zone, and I want to stay away from explicatives, but I'm more often than not in this zone of, once I commit to something, well, what else can be done that's beyond the checklist, right? Because yes, they need what's on the checklist, but what is that wow factor? If I truly have bought into it and I have identified exactly how to show up, what else can I do that will help exceed their expectation, that will help take that experience for them to the next level? Because it's not a matter of, do they need me or do they need us? They wouldn't have come to us if they didn't, right? They wouldn't have seen us as an opportunity or solution. But what else can I bring to them that will help them, not hinder them, not deliver on what it is that they actually need, but will give an added value, will enhance the benefit of our interaction? And that, goes into our conversation about relationship with the people with whom we're doing life and or with whom we're doing business, because you can care and it still not be enough if it's not delivered in a way that the person is not able to receive it, right? They can't even see your level of care, but because you're not speaking their language.
Well, and
It's
often
funny.
I was going to say, in the senior space with elder care, it's so often so hard for the person receiving care. They don't want it. There's a lot of pride involved in having to ask for it, or not even having to ask for it, but actually physically or cognitively knowing, or even sometimes not knowing, that you actually need the care. You cannot do it yourself. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of feelings that come with having to receive care from someone else. So it's important to realize the level of pride and the level of independence that's stripped from somebody. That autonomy, the agency is sometimes gone. How do we meet them where they are instead of just forcing care upon them because they need it, right?
Ooh, Even in business leaders, right? Asking for help can be hard because you feel like, oh, well, I'm in leadership. I can't be vulnerable and not know, or I can't be vulnerable and ask for help. When the truth is, as a leader, asking for help is one of the absolute most empowering things that you can do, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, right? And so, Josephine, you hit something so good and so clear with how can we then infiltrate, if you will, that pride, right? How can we pop that bubble in a way that doesn't bring shame, that doesn't bring guilt, that doesn't bring, right? We can't stop people from feeling these things. We can, though, nurture them and say it's okay. And it's normal to feel that way, right? Or we expect you actually to feel that way right now, because this isn't a space that you've allowed yourself to be in for a while. But rest easy, because you're not alone in this. Rest easy, because we're here to support you, and we're here to figure out what that support needs to look like so that you can get the greatest benefit, right? It's so intersects. Tara, I think you were about to say something.
Oh, this is such a good conversation. You guys know how empathetic and compassionate I am. And so this is absolutely something that I like to talk about. So from a relationship and a connection and a networking position, which is what I really kind of love to do, I would say that we have to learn to connect with people on a deeper level. It's not about just meeting those basic needs. It's about having conversations with them. It's about asking them questions. How are you doing? And truly caring. You know, it's really about the genuineness of, you know, and that doesn't happen just in business. I'm saying this is in, you know, business and home life and friends and family, and just caring more and being empathetic to the fact that, you know, they have needs that can be met, and there are things that we can help them with, but we have to be able to ask the questions. We have to be able to sit and listen, you know, and I know Lindsay is, you know, our friend Lindsay is all about listening. It is so important that we sit down and we actually pay attention to others, and actually, you know, are right there in their face and actually asking those questions, you know, because I think a lot of times we get lost, and it's just like, oh, well, how are you doing? No, how are you really doing? And is there something that I can do to help you, and whatever that is? If it's business, great. If it's not, you know, whatever that is. But I think being more present, building deeper relationships with people, and genuinely helping them in that capacity is really, really important.
So I'm a part-time caregiver for my godmother. And she is one of those people who knows she needs care. She's cognitively totally with it, although she says she forgets things. She has a really hard time accepting care. And so what I have done with her is have conversations about, well, what's been the outcome? Because you allowed, and that's how I always use that language. You allowed me to do X for you. You allowed me to be here for you. And she'll state what the outcome is. And then I'll state what benefit I received because I was able to do something for her. And when she can see that, she slowly but surely is lowering that level of pride without feeling any shame. She feels love. And that's happened because there is this cycle of giving and receiving that happens when you're in a caregiving role. And you're always receiving at the same time that you're giving if you are looking for those ways in which you are receiving, and then you are communicating those ways to the people who are receiving care. And for me, that redirection, interjecting something into that cycle of I'm always giving, leading to burnout, can help us reframe and help those people who need the care and are struggling to receive the care in a loving way, receive it. Yeah.
I love that strategy, and that if what they're missing is their own ability to make decisions, then you are still giving them that, right? Like, you have allowed me to do it. Like, seriously, if I came over and you locked your door, then you didn't allow me to help you, right? There is that level of control. And it's so interesting because I'm thinking about it. I have a 3-year-old son. And so he still needs things and is still not super great at explaining what it is that he needs. And one of the things that has been most successful for me is letting him have space to know that where he's at is fine, and that there's nothing wrong with him because this is the help that you need, or this is the emotion that you're feeling right now, that this is part of the human experience. And we can't actually, we can't erase. The feelings are not there to be erased. Feelings are there to teach us things about ourselves and what we love and what we value and what we care about. And they can be used very well for that. And it's so important to allow people to have that, to not be like, hey, here's my check. I'm just, I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. My experience when I was in the hospital and I had my son, I had some like really great nurses that just made me feel like, yeah, I can totally do this. And some that just made me feel like I couldn't at all. And like, I'm a pretty well-functioning human, right? Like most of the time I have confidence that I can do things or I can figure things out. And there were just some people that it was like they were having none of it. They're like, nope, you just have to do this. And like, I can't do that. And I wish I could, but I can't. And so now I'm just sitting alone in a space of, I don't know what to do. I don't have any self-confidence. And nobody's helping me. And it doesn't really matter that you fed me today because my mental state is like so out of whack. It like, okay, the food was nice, but I would have rather had some love than some cold waffles. Yeah, we all know hospital food is no good, right? So like this is the thing, and we have this ability. I think Tara, it was you that mentioned compassion, right? Like we have the ability to show up with compassion in every opportunity we have. And Josephine, you said it too, like we all have the innate ability to be that, right? Like we all can be compassionate, we can be empathetic. So are we? And this is one of the things that I've been talking about in that, sorry, Joanna, is that like, if that's a value for yours, what if you made that your priority as a deliverable for the day? Right? I'm going to show up with compassion today. How much did I show up with compassion today? And then you get, like, I don't know, but I'm feeling that same trade Josephine was talking about. Like when I show up with compassion, I get that back. Like, I feel like tenfold in terms of like the space that I was able to create for people, because that's something that is legitimately values level important to me.
Yes. This brings up, as you were talking, as Josephine was sharing her nugget and you're sharing yours, the phrase that I share too sometimes is there's freedom in boundaries, right? And how that applies to the situation is when you were talking about Nicholas, the illusion of power came to mind. And it is also something that I've learned in my journey through motherhood. So at the time of this recording, my daughter is 6 and I am a co-parent, right? So we're co-parenting together beyond our divorce. And one thing that I've learned early on becoming a mother was the illusion of power with my daughter, right? So I raised her to understand that her voice absolutely matters, even though she might not get what she expressed, right? The response, she might not get the response that she wanted. Nonetheless, it's up to her. It is her responsibility to articulate how she feels and what she wants, right? And then there's a way to do it, right? It's not what you say, it's how, that whole thing. With parenting, I learned early on the illusion of power. And we can do this in relationships. We can do this in business with our clients. We can do this in leadership, whether it's traditional employment or otherwise, right? Or home care, whatever the case may be. Letting people own their decisions, right? But you giving them, because they are weak in this area, because they need help in this area, and desperation causes you to choose the opposite of what you need. And so when we give them choices that are best for them, but we give them the freedom to choose the one that speaks to them most significantly, right? So like with Bailey, it may be she wants to wear her Uggs. And I'm like, honey, it's 90 degrees outside. Uggs may not be the best choice. How about sneakers or sandals? It's up to you. they're still appropriate. Ultimately, you need shoes on your feet, but I don't need you to have a heat stroke when we're walking, right? So same with home care, right? Hospital, what would you like to eat? You need to eat, but what you eat can be this, or this. And they still get the power to choose, and everybody can walk away pleased because it's in the realm of safety, right? That psychological safety that's so important. And we can totally do this when we're going beyond the business of caring. We care that they get what they need, but now how can I take that to the next level and help them see that they still have the power of choice to receive what it is that they're ultimately seeking? And that helps that love, that helps that nurture, that helps that genuine, that empathy, that, right? It's because we're not just trying to force them one way. We're helping them allow in the care. We're helping them allow in the greatest benefit, because they need us, what we're bringing to them, to actually like have a positive experience. Otherwise, if they didn't need us and what we were bringing to the table, we wouldn't be having the conversation, right? So helping people understand that they still have and are fully capable and equipped to make decisions. Sometimes we just have to usher them into the most appropriate direction, but there's more than one way to get to the ultimate, need and want of what it is that they need to benefit from. So that was cool to see how, I don't know, those things, they just went full circle.
We're talking about DC and Ryan's self-determination theory. So there's basically 3 psychological needs that we all, as every single human being has to live, a self-empowering and flourishing life. And they are autonomy, right? So you're talking about the choice in the matter. Competence, belief that you can actually do it. And then relation, like relatedness, which is just having somebody to go alongside and journey with in the life. And that's
really good.
All 3 of those, like that's so key. And that's caring. Like I often, in the fall, we recorded some tools, and one of them, we recorded tools for caregivers, and one of them was called connection. And in that one, I collapsed sort of the idea of this caregiving experience to being like in a dance. And that actually came from a conversation with a caregiver I know that works in paid professional caregiving space with dementia residents who are in the later stages of dementia. And it's a very difficult job when you're in that place, you're getting spat on, sworn at. I mean, you can really take it personally. And I said, how do you do what you do with such a smile on your face? And she said, I just dance to the rhythm of their music. And I was just like, what? I don't know if I've ever heard it more eloquently put. And so that sort of became the basis of this tool about connection, which is you're in a dance. When you're in relationship or you're caring with or for somebody, you're basically in a dance. And that means sometimes you're the leader, and that means sometimes you're the follower. And you have to let your heart tell you when to do which role. And that's the one thing that doesn't happen when we go, especially in healthcare, when we go and get a nursing degree or a certificate to be a healthcare aide. What happens with that is we get taught the medical way. We get taught the tasks, and they're important, and things have to be followed in a certain way. What we don't get taught when we're at school is the hard stuff. We get taught the head stuff, and then we have to take that knowledge from our head into our heart. And that's what transforms care. That's how care goes beyond the business of caring. When you can take what's in your head and bring it to your heart and share it with people, that's when it goes beyond the business of caring. And that's what the future of caring needs to be.
That was so good. Let me find my reactions here.
Right.
I need them out of my eyes right now too. Like Tracy
They
does.
are on mobile.
Telling you, we need that emoji where hearts come out of your eyes.
Oh,
Zoom, get on
That
it.
was so, get on it, Zoom. That was so good. Oh, you found them. Yay.
I have no idea where they are.
Josephine, that was so eloquent. Something that you said earlier, I really like how you said, it's a trade-off. So you tell them, like you're telling your godmother, you know, this is what I'm receiving out of it. I think that if we would do that more often, especially with the elder population, and allowing them to know, because we have to remember that they're, as you said earlier, they're in a state of, you're taking away everything. You're putting me a place that I don't want to be. I'm still capable, but allowing them to feel those emotions, because that's difficult. I mean, I can't even imagine when I get to that space, how I'm going to feel, and not forcing them, but having those conversations like you do. And I can only imagine that she is so grateful for your help, because you sit and you talk to her and you converse with her and you connect with her in a way that makes her feel safe, that makes her feel heard. And you also just let her still go through the emotions that happens as we age. So I just, oh, this is beautiful.
It's so interesting you bring that up. We also have a pact with each other. So if either one of us feels like it's too much at any time, so even if I feel like the other parts of the other containers of my life are overflowing and I can't do what I would normally do in a week, we find ways to kind of work around that so that I'm not burdened and she doesn't feel she's burdening me, and then vice versa. So yeah, we have had that communication in place since the very beginning. And that's also helped her feel like she's not being a burden, because she knows, and I have on occasion said, I just can't do it this way today. We need to be flexible or shift it or change it or whatever. And she gets it. She knows that somebody like my son or my husband needs me, or there's something else going on. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't matter or that we won't get her needs taken care of. It just means we're going to do it in a different way today.
Well, and I'm thinking of this great example. So my grandparents, they're both in their 80s. They live in their own house still, and they're very short. They don't have any rotator cuffs in their arm anymore. So they can't lift. They have everything on like the countertop or lower, because that is all they can reach. And my husband is very tall, like 6'2". And when we go over there, that is his job. His job is to reach the high things. And it's like seriously, like we go over for a visit and he dusts the ceiling fans and things, because like my grandparents just can't do it. And it's really interesting though, because they have given him that task, right? Like they have created that space for him to and he loves helping. So he gets to help, and he gets to help within the box of what they've said. This is what the tall guy does. And it's just is really amazing to watch that, because they give him in his space total freedom to help them, right? And I don't notice, because I have noticed in other scenarios where they feel like someone's taking away something, somebody's taking away something from me, but they're just like, nope, that's what he does. And it is kind of, I love Tawana's freedom and boundaries thing. I say it all the time, but it's the same kind of thing, right? Like they have given him those boundaries. He helps within his boundaries, and he knows how to kind of finagle it within his boundaries too, right? Like, oh, that's probably on the top shelf in the basement. I should probably walk down the stairs and get it, even though maybe it's on the bottom shelf, right? Like it just is. It's allowing people. I think we actually talked about it in one of these episodes about, it might have even been last episode, about allowing people to help you. And the whole concept of, so our last episode was titled Not Meant to Walk Alone. And as humans, we're not meant to walk alone. And there's so many times in life where we feel like we're a burden on other people, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? And we don't lean on those other people when we could. And if the others, people not experiencing that, could show up from this place of compassion and empathy and just be like, you know what? I'm here to help you the way you need help today. Actually, it makes me think too of like, even for like new mothers, like when people are a mother for the first time, and like, let's be honest, you have no idea what you need. And people are like, what do you need? And you're like, I don't even know. I need some sleep. I need a shower. Like seems pretty simple, but we don't think to ask for those things. And I feel like the more types of conversations we can have like this, hopefully, the more space we can create for people of all ages in business, as seniors, as parents of children who are learning to deal with their emotions, that we can just create these spaces for people to be fully accepted and loved however they are, and enjoy the dance, which I love. Obviously, the whole dance thing is just right up my alley.
It is. It is. It's really fantastic. And it's, what we're encouraging, I believe, and Josephine would love for you to give us like, a closing remark before we do our summary on just how you embody through your business, through your life, through your service, through your direct care to people in such an intimate way, how like we can go forward and do this, like how we can begin to care and how we can deliver on caring, right, in a way that actually promotes us to do beyond, right, beyond the business of caring, because all of this, like none of it is isolated. Like as much as we try to say, oh, in business we would do this, or in life we would do that, at the end of the day, when we're dealing with people, we can have structure, right? I mean, but it's necessary to apply some form of structure, yet caring with how we do it, and caring how the people receive can, where they can receive it, is what's truly beneficial here. Like we can do one without the other, but we're not going to get the outcome, and they won't get, the benefit of what we're delivering, what they need.
The benefit of what we're delivering, the outcome in healthcare, is to improve the quality of life for somebody else. And so far in history, we've been going about that with medicine leading the way. And if you can bring in our analogy of a dance again, medicine is a head thing. It's knowledge, it's information, it's statistics, it's research, right? It's quantitative data. Now we're bringing in the heart, and there is space for the heart, for relationships, for warmth, for caring, for empathy, for compassion, and for qualitative data. But one has to lead right now. And what has to lead right now is the heart. And that is our way forward. That alone is our way forward. It's about changing the roles of the dance that we've been creating around care and around healthcare.
That was absolutely beautiful. And that was the thing that I was going to say, if you didn't say it before we got off, that out of everything that we've said today, when you said we have to take what we've learned and transfer it to the heart, which is so what is missing, right? So we've stayed and we've done the same thing over and over and over, and it's broken, right? So we need to change, and we need to lead with our heart. I just continue to hope and pray that that's what we do in this world, because it would really change the quality of life for everyone.
Yeah. Are we summary ready? Are we have any more?
Oh yes, it was so good.
There's going to be so many good things in the summary. I'm ready.
So many good things. Lucky for you, watchers, listeners out there, I had to do the old-fashioned way, so I don't have as many as I wanted. Nonetheless, we've got some core, which I guess it wouldn't be a summary if we had too many, right? Nonetheless, here we join, sharing this conversation with Josephine, we're walking away with some really, really nostalgic, if you will, thoughts on how we can reflect on living life and on how we can do it well for ourselves, but in a way that benefits others. So we're talking about realizing how to meet people where they are, pay attention, ask questions, and be present for the answers. We've talked about identifying the reciprocity, communicating the cycle of giving and receiving. We've talked about allowing decisions, releasing control, right? There's freedom and boundaries. We covered autonomy, competence, and relationship. That equates to caring, and it amplifies connection. Dance to the rhythm of their music. Letting the head stuff meet the heart stuff to actually begin and deliver care. And lastly, but certainly not least, with Josephine's thought on improve the quality of life for others by leading with the heart.
Oh,
And I would just say that this is what this show is all about.
I know, it makes me want to cry too. Oh,
You guys, and this, it just is so good. I just want to throw in one extra thing that I just thought of when we were talking about when you were summarizing about the dance, Tawana, because there is an important part in there about learning how to dance to their rhythm. And like, as a dancer, what I know is there is listening to music, and then there's feeling the rhythm. Those are two different things. And so listening, skill that is important. But again, if you guys know me, if you've hung out and listened to me at all, feeling, you have to feel the rhythm. And feeling, I don't know, I get mad every time I have to say this, but we have to practice. We're so many of us are so out of practice with our feelings, right? Like, we try to hide feelings, we try to drown feelings, we try to ignore feelings, right? Like, but no, all of this greatness, the beauty of the dance is tied to the feelings.
Yes, it is.
So feel everybody.
Say it with us. Say it with us.
That one might have come off wrong. Practice your feelings. Go with that. Not feel everybody. That don't say I said
that.
Josephine, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, this whole thing of, we've created such this beautiful picture that almost makes it look or feel or perfect. And it's so far from perfect, because the fact that we're people and we have feelings. And once we start to acknowledge the feelings, become more aware of the feelings, which we are in this world, the other part of that is being comfortable with the feelings, because they're not always feelings that we necessarily want to experience. And we still have a tendency to want to avoid the negative ones, but they're coming up. There's a purpose behind anger, behind sadness, behind frustration, behind jealousy. We need to understand that. And then we have to be okay, like, because we're allowing people to come into businesses with their emotions, because their emotions are a part of who they are. And then somebody cries when they're at work, and how the heck do we deal with that? So that's another conversation for another day, but the emotions make it messy, and we just have to be okay living in the mess and moving through it.
Yeah, we're humans. It's messy. It's like, I got a 3-year-old, man. That thing is messy. I just can't, no matter how clean I keep my house, just messy. And it's a good analogy for life, right? How much effort do we put into making something perfect that can't actually be perfect? Perfect doesn't exist. And so, oh man, I think we have at least a couple other episodes.
Yeah, you'll have to come back.
Yeah, coming out of this. So we will have you back, Josephine, and talk about some more of those things. But thank you.
I'm so thankful for the opportunity to just have this conversation and to share those things from my heart, and feel so connected to you guys on opposite ends of, this equator. It's so amazing to feel.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes.
Yes. That's so awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching today. If you have anything that you would love to share related to going beyond the business of caring and how we could use our hearts to influence our brains in healthcare and work and life and all of those things, please feel free to drop them in the comments. If you guys like this episode, we would love if you would subscribe, and you'll get notified when we have future episodes. I want to send out one more little heart to our friend, Miss Debbie. That we will see you again next time. And with that, you guys remember, be a human.
Be a human.